Today is our first day of our new unit on genetics. I want you to use this video to introduce you to the first activity and to take some notes in your packet. At the end of today, you should be able to do these three things. First, you should be able to explain what a genetically modified organism is, and we're going to be calling those GMOs. You should also be able to explain the benefits and trade-offs of something called the green revolution. Those are some farming techniques used to increase crop yields. And you should be able to explain some benefits and trade-offs of using genetically modified organisms to increase crop yields. We're going to frame this unit on genetics by talking about how we can feed hungry people in the world. We just got done talking about viral and bacterial diseases and how many people in the world that harms. But here's an interesting quote to think about. Hunger and malnutrition are the #1 risk to health worldwide, greater than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. Those are 3 of our big 6 diseases that we studied in the last unit. This quote comes from the United Nations World Food Program. So, there's a statistic that worldwide, of the 9 billion people in the world, 1.2 billion don't get enough nutritious food. So there's a lot of hungry people in the world. And hunger is one of the world's greatest sustainability challenges. And we want to think about what we can do to solve that. So how can we solve this problem? That's our challenge. In the 1960s, one way that farmers tried to tackle this challenge was with something called the Green Revolution. What the Green Revolution was it involved a use of a whole bunch of fertilizers and pesticides to increase crop yields. So when we think about ways to solve problems, we want to think about benefits, positive things, and trade-offs, things that might be not so good as a result of that solution. So the benefit of the Green Revolution was to increase crop yields, or how much crops you can grow on a piece of land. What you can see from the data shown here is that the production and the yield of crops increased from the 60s on, as shown in this graph, but the amount of land used for crops stayed pretty much the same and actually maybe has gone down a little bit. And this is due to Green Revolution farm techniques. But what's the trade-off? Well, use of these fertilizers and pesticides to help plants grow and to kill pests that are eating the crops cause water pollution and other environmental problems. So when you think about sustainability, the ability of us to use resources today without using them up for people so that they can still use them tomorrow, the Green Revolution poses a sustainability challenge. Another solution to world hunger that has emerged within the last 20 to 25 years is genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. What a GMO is when a gene or a piece of DNA from another species is inserted into an animal or crop. So the benefit that this can give is it can give the crop a new trait. Here's an example. There are apples called Arctic apples, and those apples resist turning brown. So here's a normal apple, and when it's cut, it turns brown. But Arctic apples have had a gene inserted into them that prevents this from happening. Many other examples of genetically modified crops are listed below. Have you ever eaten one of those miniature watermelons? That's a genetically modified crop. There is also some corn that we'll be learning about today that's pest resistant. We're going to learn about salmon during this unit that have growth hormone added so that they grow faster. And there are a whole bunch of other examples listed in this table. So the benefit is that the crop can have a new trait that can help it be resistant to damage or more nutritious. But the trade-off is that there's really uncertainty about any effects on health of people that eat genetically modified organisms, the effect on the environment, or any effect on unmodified crops is currently up in the air, and we're going to learn more about that. So here's our challenge for today. You're advising a country where many people are hungry. In this country, corn is an important crop for feeding both people and the animals they rely on for food. You're going to look at evidence from a scientific panel on genetically modified corn called BT corn. Your question is, should the country allow farmers to grow BT corn, a genetically modified organism? What you're going to do next, with a partner, is to read the background material on BT corn. Also in class, after you're done with that, you're going to read statements from a panel of scientists and take some notes. Finally, as a class, we're going to have a walking debate to see your opinions on whether or not that country should use BT corn. And then you're going to write your official recommendation for homework. Write a letter to the Government Office of Agriculture of this country that you're advising with your recommendation on whether or not they should use BT corn. Are you ready for the challenge? Let's go.